Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a tall speaker with a tall sense of humor, Miss North Carolina 40 years ago. Yes, 40 years ago, Jeanne Swanner Robertson.
Thank you. Oh, you're clapping fast. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming to this gorgeous Elon University campus tonight, to Whitley Auditorium, for this event. I really appreciate it. Did he say 40 years ago? That was a student, wasn't it? He didn't even know people lived 40 years ago. He could have said 30 or 20. I think it's important, it is to me, before we go any further, for you to know that at this age of the game, I don't travel around the country going up to perfect strangers and opening the conversation with, 40 years ago, I was Miss North Carolina. I don't do that because they look at you strangely and say things like, I don't believe it. But I would bet you have heard the words Miss North Carolina more in the last year and a half than you ever thought you would hear them. You see, last year we had 2 Miss North Carolinas at the same time. I don't know either of these young women, and I choose to believe they are fine young women that got caught up in something. I choose to believe they come from good people. But here is what happened. We had one young woman who won the title of Miss North Carolina, and she was getting ready to go to the Miss America pageant. And that is the way we say it in North Carolina. The Miss America pageant. My friends in Graham, where I grew up, said, I can't believe you're going to go to the Miss America pageant. And then something came up. It is immaterial to my story, but she resigned. And the first runner-up became Miss North Carolina, and she was getting ready to go to the Miss America pageant, and her family and friends had all their new clothes and their airline tickets. And then the first one decided she wanted it back. Now, see, any way you look at this, this is going to be a problem, because the second one didn't want to give it back. And before long, the lawsuit started, and it got into the newspaper. The wire services picked it up. All around the country, everywhere I went, people would ask me, what's this deal about the 2 Miss North Carolinas? The late-night comedians got in on the act. Before long, it went down to a federal judge who studied the situation and in his infinite wisdom ruled, let them both go. This is why we pay them the big bucks. Do you understand? I mention this because that September, I was flying out of the Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem Regional Triad Piedmont International new airport. And this story was on the front page, and I was reading it. And I became aware that the guy sitting next to me was reading over my shoulder. And in a few minutes, he leaned over and thumped that story and said, now that there is something, isn't it? And I knew he was from North Carolina too, because he talks like I do. And I will admit to you that at that precise moment, I turned to a perfect stranger and said, this is particularly interesting to me because 40 years ago, I was Miss North Carolina. Just like that, he said, Miss North Carolina's getting to be like Santa Claus, one on every corner. Wow.